Hi there, this is Ryan with ZombieRacks, and today we're going to be installing a double tap rail on this Porsche Cayenne that's already been outfitted with a Wasteland series full rack from our previous installation video. To begin, we're going to want to verify you've received all required components for this install and lay them out. Now, quick note, we are installing this double tap rail after we've installed that full rack on the Porsche, but you can absolutely install these before a full rack is mounted to a vehicle. Our components begin with these double tap rail supports. These are designed to straddle the saddle washers on the rack tubes and attach the double tap rails to the existing rack bases already installed on that Porsche in the background here. Next will be our connector hardware assemblies and connector slugs. Note the gray finish and the 2 through holes on these slugs, which will be used at our longitudinal connection points. Following the connector slugs will be our threaded slugs. Note the black finish and the 2 threaded holes on these slugs. These will be used on the latitude cross sections, and we'll use these connector hardware assemblies with the short bolt and single saddle washer. The 2 crossbars will be used at the front and rear portion of the double tap rail, and while the lengths will vary per application, they will always have this single hole on each end. Attaching to those crossbars will be your U-tubes. This particular install requires radius U-tubes, which will be driver and passenger side specific, but on flat and short assembly ends, these will be flat and can be installed on either end. Joining our 2 end assemblies will be our intermediate run tubes. These will feature a total of 4 holes with 2 on each end. When joined together, they will make up the majority of the length for the double tap rail. Let's go ahead and quickly move components to their respective spots and begin our assembly. We'll start with our cross assemblies consisting of those U-tubes and crossbars, connecting together with these threaded slugs and connector hardware assemblies. With those assemblies complete, let's move on to installing these DTR supports. We'll keep these intermediate run tubes off to the side for now, and come back for them once these supports are all installed. I went ahead and loosened all of our connector hardware before starting this recording, but you want to completely remove the hardware assemblies, then starting with that long M6 bolt and flat washer, install from the outside of the DTR support, followed by a saddle washer. Once each side is fitted, slide those bolts back into the rack connector, then install the saddle washers, followed by the opposite side DTR support, then finish off with a flat washer and a flange lock nut. Be sure to keep the hardware loose to aid with installing the double tap rails later on. Let's do some movie magic here to speed up installing the rest of the mounts. Now that those mounts are all installed, let's begin to install those intermediate run tubes. Starting by laying the run tube inside the upper portion of those DTR supports, then line up the connector slug with the hole in the side support and intermediate run tube. Slide that first saddle washer in, then take the long M6 bolt and slide through to hold the saddle washer in position. Once through, position the second saddle washer in the same way on the opposite side. Then install the flat washer and flange lock nut onto that long M6 bolt. We'll then slide the next intermediate run tube onto that first connector slug and repeat the same steps as before until all intermediate run tubes are secured onto the rack. We'll now move on to installing the cross assemblies. Make sure these connection points are slightly loose to help position this assembly onto the rack. Just like those intermediate run tubes, slide the end of the U-tube onto that connector slug and lightly install the connector hardware assembly. We'll repeat the same steps on the opposite side of the vehicle. For the last assembly, I did forget to remove the connector slugs and hardware assemblies. We'll want to install those onto the intermediate run tube first, then we can install the cross assembly. Now that everything is installed, you want to verify that all items appear to be in their correct space, and that no part of the rack is binding or twisting with the hardware loosely installed. If everything appears correct, with no changes needed, go ahead and tighten all hardware to spec, which should be found in your assembly manual. With that, your double tap rail install is complete. Check out our other installation videos for installing accessories and other rail styles. Cheers!